You know those stories that just make your jaw drop? The ones where you read them and you're like, no way, this can't be real. Well, buckle up because this is one of those. It's about how I spent 18 years as a prisoner in my own home, all thanks to my utterly psychotic mother. And trust me when I say psychotic, I mean full, on straight out of a movie chills down your spine psychotic. I was never out of my mom's sight. Like from birth. 2 years old? Hair appointments. 3 years old? Mom's dates. Seriously, who brings a toddler to a date? But that's just how it was. My mom was obsessed. Then when I was 9, my mom actually let me go to school. Imagine that. Freedom, right? For like 5 minutes. Because she randomly signed me out during lunch. The next week, I was begging her, please mom, I want to make friends. And my mom? She cried. Full on waterworks. I'm too lonely without you. I need you here. By 14, I was failing grades because of all the uncused absences. So I started rebelling. Sneaking out, saying no, actually making friends who weren't my mother. And wouldn't you know it, right around this time, I got extremely sick. Like horribly debilitatingly sick. I had no proof, but I knew it. I knew she'd slipped something into my food. And get this, she called some random doctor she trusted before I even really complained about feeling sick. The doctor comes over, gives me practically zero specifics, and just says I have a rare neurological condition that makes it too dangerous to leave the house. Suddenly, I was on bed rest, online school surrounded by humidifiers, and these immune support drinks my mom made from scratch. And my mom? She was genuinely, almost creepily happy. She'd say, you're safe now. This is how things were meant to be. This went on for years. Sorrow in, person contact with anyone but her. Sorrow leaving the house. By 18, I had completely forgotten how to exist in the world without her. But there was this one friend, Jamie. We met in an online firm for chronic illness. He was funny, kind, and always asked about me. And he lived nearby. He asked to meet up. I wanted to badly. But I knew my mom would lose it. So I came up with a plan. Mom, I'm just going to the corner store for an immunity drink. It was a 1-minute walk, the only place she let me go alone. I got there, met Jamie for the first time. He was super friendly, down to earth. I was awkward as hell, because I'd forgotten how to human. But Jamie didn't care. He took the lead, made me laugh so hard my sides hurt. I walked home glowing. Jamie even walked me to the corner. But of course, my mom was there waiting. She flung the door open and screamed, WHOISTHAT. I said, Mom HCS just a friend. She was shaking. You lied to me. You risked your health for a boy, and then it just slipped out. I'm not sick. She slapped me. Not hard, but enough to stun me. And for the first time in years, I defied her. I backed into my room and locked the door. She started banging on it so hard, I thought it would break. Then, silence. I instantly texted Jamie, told him everything. And Jamie? He stepped up. Big time. He helped me find an online therapist, helped me talk to mutual friends who sent resources, links, emotional support. A few weeks later, I got the courage to move out. Found an apartment nearby in secret, and my new friends helped me move. I was ready. But my mom inevitably found out. I expected anger, but instead it was manipulation. She said, you're sick. You need me. You're ungrateful. And for the first time ever, I told her it was the opposite. You need me. Without me, your life is pathetic. That caused her to go absolutely nuts. Screaming she'd call social services, claim I was unfit to live alone. Told me she'd never forgive me if I left. But I moved anyway. And the silence from her was music to my ears. First thing I did once I was free, booked an appointment with a new doctor. A week later, he called back. He asked, are you sitting down? Then he said, there's no trace of the illness you were diagnosed with. In fact, it looks like you may have been ingesting something. Something that mimics symptoms of neurological distress. Poison. A slow dosage over time. My whole world stopped. I'd suspected it, but now I had proof. My stomach turned. I got home and found a package leaning against my door. No shipping label. Just my name in her handwriting. Inside was my childhood teddy bear, Mr. Buttons, an 8-page handwritten letter from her about how worried she was, how I was making a terrible mistake, and that I needed these medicines or it'd relapse. She wrote, you'll start feeling the symptoms again soon. When you do, take these immediately and call me. I'll come get you. No questions asked. The paper was damp with tears. I dropped it like it burned me. I grabbed the bottles, marched to the bathroom, unscrewed each cap, and dumped the contents into the toilet. I flushed twice. I texted Jamie. She left medicine at my door. I flushed it. His reply, good. Wash your hands and call the police. This could be evidence. I called a non-emergency line. They said they'd send someone. That night, a nightmare trapped in my old bedroom, humidifiers pumping out green. Toxic mist. I woke up gasping. And then a notification and email from my mother. It said, I know you're awake. You always wake up around 3 o'clock. Your body is telling you something's wrong. Let me help you, baby. I flooded my veins. I crawled to the window. Sure enough, Herco was parked across the street, watching. I called 911. I said, my mother is stalking me. She's outside my apartment right now. She's been poisoning me for years. 10 minutes later, police lights. 2 officers approached Herco. She gestured animatedly, probably spinning some story about her poor, mentally ill daughter. They eventually escorted her away. One officer came to my door. He said, your mother says she's concerned about your mental health. Says you stopped taking necessary medication and are having paranoid delusions. My heart sank. Of course she would say that. It was the perfect defense. Hate me as the unstable one. I said, that's not true. I filed a report yesterday. She's been poisoning me for years. I have a doctor who can confirm it. His expression softened. He said, we told her she needs to leave. You should file for a restraining order tomorrow. I couldn't sleep. I sat up, researching Munchausen by proxy syndrome until dawn. Mothers making their children sick for attention, sympathy, control. Horrificacy familiar. I was one of the lucky ones. I got out. The next morning, I went to the courthouse. Massive building, echoing hallways. The clerk asked, do you have documentation of the abuse? I said, I have medical records showing I was poisoned. And a police report from yesterday. She handed me a stack of forms. That's a 30. They called my name. The judge reviewed my paperwork. She said, this is a serious accusation. Poisoning over a period of years. I handed over my lab results. These showed traces of several substances in my system that shouldn't be there. The judge reviewed the papers. She said I'm granting the temporary order. Your mother cannot contact you or come within 100 yards of you. Gavel slams. Relief washed over me. Hey, legal shield. She added, if these allegations are true, you should consider pressing criminal charges. That afternoon, my mom was served. By evening, my phone was blowing up with calls from relatives I barely knew. My Aunt Diane said, your mother is hysterical. How could you repay her like this? I let most calls go to voicemail but talked to my grandmother. She said, everyone knows you've been sick since you were little. Your mother kept us updated. She's shown us your medical records. I said, they were fake. I'm seeing a new doctor now, and my grandma just dripped with condescension. She said, oh, sweetheart, that's your disease talking. Your mother warned us you might start rejecting your diagnosis. I threw my phone across the room. My mom had laid the groundwork for years. She was the saintly caretaker. I was the chronically ill, difficult child. Everyone believed her. Jamie came over with groceries that evening. He said we need to document everything. Every symptom, every medicine, every doctor visit. A timeline. It was painful but clarifying. Patterns emerged. Jamie pointed it out. He said your symptoms always got worse after you showed independence, when you wanted to stay at school, when you made friends online, when you talked about college. He was right. My condition had always flared up when I started pulling away. He continued, and here your symptoms improved when you complied. When you agreed to drop out of school, when you stopped asking to go outside. A chill ran through me. I said, she was training me like a dog. He corrected gently, she was controlling you. But you broke free. You're breaking free. I saw jaw drive. Gupta again. More tests, more questions. She said, based on what you've described in your test results, I believe you were being given a combination of substances. Likely including IPAC to induce vomiting, laxatives to cause digestive distress, and possibly something like Vizine, which can cause dizziness and weakness when ingested. I asked, will there be permanent damage? She said, I don't think so. These substances typically don't cause long-term harm once exposure stops, but I'd like to monitor you for a while to be sure. She handed me a card. A support group for survivors of medical abuse. I went. Walked there alone for the first time, each step terrifying and exhilarating. The group was small, 6 other people. All had that same look in their eyes. The look of someone betrayed by the person who should have protected them most. I introduced myself. I said my mother has Munchausen by proxy. She made me sick for most of my life to keep me dependent on her. I just figured it out a few weeks ago. No shock, no disbelief, just recognition. The elderly man asked, when did you escape? I said, 3 weeks ago I moved out, got a restraining order. A woman about my age said, that's huge. I didn't get away until I was 27. One by one, they shared their stories. The teenager said the hardest part for me was accepting that my mom didn't love me the way a parent should, that her care was actually abuse. I felt tears welling up. I admitted, sometimes I still miss her. Is that crazy? Harper assured me, it's normal. She was your whole world. It's okay to grieve that relationship, even while recognizing how toxic it was. I left feeling less alone. The next day, an email from Drive. Marshall, my mom's trusted doctor. He was retiring next month. He wrote, if you wish to obtain copies of your medical records, please contact my office within the next 2 weeks. He was running, covering his tracks. I forwarded it to Jamie. He's running. Jamie called. He said this is good. It means he's scared. We should get those records before he loses them. We went together to his dingy office. Dr. Rave. Marshall stepped out, froze when he saw me. He said, Betty, how are you feeling? I said coldly, better. Much better since I stopped taking the treatments you and my mother were giving me. He tried to escape. I said, did you know? Did you know she was poisoning me, or did she fool you too? He said, I think you're confused about your medical history. Perhaps we could discuss this privately sometime. I said, no need. The police will be contacting you soon enough. His professional mask slipped for just a moment. His face hardened. He said, be careful about making unfounded accusations, Betty. They could be considered defamatory. Jamie put his hand on my arm. He said we should go. Outside. I was shaking with rage. I said he knew. He had to know. Jamie said, we'll get the records, and then we'll have proof one way or the other. 3 days later, I got a call from Director Marshall's office. My records were ready. When I went to pick them up, I was handed a thin folder containing barely a dozen pages. I said, this can't be everything. I was his patient for 3 years. The receptionist shrugged. That's all we have in your file. They'd sanitized my records. Or maybe they never kept accurate ones. I took the folder to the police station. Detective Perez, the tired-looking detective, listened patiently. She said without more evidence, it's going to be difficult to prove criminal intent. Your mother could claim she genuinely believed you were ill and was trying alternative treatments she thought would help. I insisted she knew exactly what she was doing. And so did Dr. Marshall. She said, I believe you. But believing and proving in court are different things. We'll keep investigating, but you should prepare yourself for the possibility that criminal charges might not stick. That night, another nightmare. This time, when I tried to scream, no sound came out. I clawed at my throat, feeling something thick and viscous blocking my airway. Mom stood in the doorway, smiling serenely as I choked. I woke up gasping, my throat tight with phantom pain. My phone showed notification. A new email from my mother. It said I found your old medical journals. Remember how I had you track your symptoms? Such detailed records. Would be a shame if the court saw how you documented your own illness in your handwriting. Come home and we can work this out as a family. The threat was clear. She had made me keep those journals. They seemed to confirm her story. I forwarded the email to Detective Perez, then called Jamie. My voice cracked with fear and exhaustion. I said, she's not going to stop. She's threatening to use my symptom journals against me. Jamie said that's actually good. It proves she's still trying to manipulate and control you, which supports your case. And those journals might help us more than hurt us if we can show the symptoms always appeared after she gave you something. I said maybe. But what if people believe her? What if they think I'm making all this up for attention? He said simply. Then they're wrong. And we'll keep fighting until we find people who believe the truth. The next day, I forced myself to go to the corner store, needing to prove I could still function despite my fear. As I was paying for a bottle of water, I glanced out the window and froze. My mom was sitting in her car across the street, watching the store. I ducked behind a display, heart pounding. She was violating the restraining order. I texted Jamie. She's outside the corner store watching. Then I called 911, keeping my voice low. The dispatcher assured me officers were on their way, but advised me to stay inside. I peeked around the display. She was still there, staring at the store entrance. The store owner, Mr. Kumar, noticed my distress. He asked, "Everything okay, miss?" I whispered, "My mother is outside. There's a restraining order. She's not supposed to be near me." He frowned. "The blue sedan." He said, "Stay in the back." I huddled in the storage room. Police lights appeared. 2 officers approached her car. I couldn't hear what was said, but I could see her gesturing frantically, pointing at the store. One officer stayed with her while the other came inside. He said, "Betty Chin." I emerged. "That's me." He said, "I'm Officer Martinez. Your mother claims she was just driving by unstopped to make a phone call. Says she didn't know you weren't here." I said, "That's a lie. This is the only store I ever go to. She knows that. She only let me walk here for years. Nowhere else." His expression shifted slightly. He said, "We're going to take her in for violating the restraining order. Would you be willing to come to the station to make a statement?" Relief washed over me. Finally, someone was taking this seriously. At the station, I gave my statement while my mom was processed in another room. Detective Perez appeared. She said, "This helps your case. Shows a pattern of stalking and harassment. The DA might be more willing to pursue charges now." As I was leaving, I glimpsed her being led to a holding cell. Our eyes met briefly. Hers were filled not with anger or even shame, but with a terrible, possessive love that chilled me to the bone. She mouthed, "You'll come back to me." "You always do." Her confidence was absolute. I turned away, walking out into the sunlight, determined to prove her wrong. That night, Jamie and several friends came over with pizza and board games, a normal young adult hangout they'd organized to help me experience the social life I'd missed. It was awkward at first. I didn't know the games, didn't get the jokes, didn't understand the references to movies and shows I'd never been allowed to watch, but they were patient. By the end of the night, I was laughing, really laughing for what felt like the first time in my life. My cheeks hurt from smiling, a strange but wonderful sensation. I felt something unfamiliar. Belonging. After everyone left, Jamie stayed to help clean up. I said, "Thank you. For everything. I don't know what I would have done without you." He said confidently, "You would have figured it out. You're stronger than you think." He said, "I don't feel strong. I feel scared all the time." He said, "Being scared and being strong aren't mutually exclusive. The fact that you're scared but doing it anyway, that's the definition of courage." I thought about that after he left. Maybe he was right. Maybe getting out of bed each morning, walking to the corner store, filing police reports, attending support groups. Maybe all of it was courage I hadn't recognized in myself. 2 days later, I received a call from Aunt Diane. Her voice was hesitant, almost guilty. She said, "Betty, I need to tell you something about your mother. When you were little, before you got sick, she did the same thing to your father." The words hung in the air. I sank deeper into the couch. I asked what, she said. He was healthy when they met. Then he started having all these mysterious symptoms. Doctors couldn't figure it out. Your mother took care of him, managed all his medications. He got worse and worse. Her voice cracked slightly. My mouth went dry. I asked, "What happened to him?" She said, "He died when you were 2. They said it was complications from his illness." I never suspected anything then, but after what you're saying about your own experience, I found something. I was cleaning out my attic and found a box of your dad's things that your mother gave me after he died. There's a journal. He was documenting his symptoms, but also his suspicions. He wrote that he felt better whenever your mother went away for a few days, worse. When she came back, my heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I asked, "Do you still have it?" She said, "Yes, and I'll testify at the hearing if you need me to." I should have seen it sooner. I'm so sorry, Betty. After we hung up, I sat in the dark, processing this new information. My father, another victim, may be the first, but not the last. Had she called him? Had she been practicing on him before turning to me? I called Detective Paris' direct line and left a voicemail about what I'd learned. Then I texted Jamie. My father, she did it to him too. He died. His response came immediately. "I'm coming over." I didn't argue. I didn't want to be alone with this knowledge, with the realization that my mother's sickness went back further than I'd imagined, that it had already claimed one life. Jamie arrived 20 minutes later. We sat on my couch in silence for a while. His presence a comfort I couldn't articulate. I finally said, "She's never going to stop. Even if I get the permanent restraining order, even if they charge her with abuse, she'll keep trying to get to me." Jamie said, "Then we'll keep stopping her. Every time until she gives up or is put somewhere she can treat you." I nodded, wanting to believe him. But deep down I knew the truth. This wasn't over. It wouldn't be over until one of us was gone. The thought should have terrified me, but instead it hardened something inside me. I had survived her poisoning. I had escaped her control. I would survive this too. The day of the permanent restraining order hearing arrived. I put on my yellow sundress, my small act of defiance, and went to court. Jamie, Autumn, and Lewis came with me for support. Aunt Diane met us there carrying a worn leather journal. She said, "Your dad's handing it to me." I've marked the relevant pages. I clutched it like a lifeline. Here was proof I wasn't crazy, that she had done this before, that I wasn't her first victim. My mom arrived with her lawyer, looking like the picture of a concerned mother. When she saw me, her face crumpled into a practiced expression of maternal concern. She called across the courtroom, "Betty, honey, it's not too late. We can fix this." I turned away, focusing on the judge's empty bench. The hearing began. My lawyer presented the evidence. Medical records showing no trace of the neurological condition I'd supposedly had for years. Test results indicating substances in my system consistent with poisoning. The police report from her restraining order violation. Testimony from Drive. Gupta about my improving health since moving out. Then Aunt Diane testified, presenting my father's journal as evidence of a pattern of behavior going back years. The courtroom was silent as she read entries describing symptoms identical to those I'd experienced. My mom's lawyer tried to paint me as mentally unstable, claiming I'd stopped taking necessary medication and was experiencing paranoid delusions as a result. He presented the symptom journals I'd kept, pointing to my own documentation of illness. He argued, "These are in Miss Chen's own handwriting, pages and pages detailing symptoms she now claims were fabricated." I testified when it was my turn. I said I wrote what I experienced. But those symptoms always appeared after consuming food or drinks my mother prepared specially for me. And they improved when I wasn't living with her. Like when I stayed overnight at the hospital for tests. The judge asked pointed questions. My mom testified last, tears streaming down her face as she described her years of sacrifice, caring for her chronically ill child. Her performance was flawless. She sobbed I gave up everything for her. And now she's turned against me because of these new friends filling her head with lies. The judge called a brief recess. I sat in the hallway, trembling with exhaustion and anxiety. Jamie said, "Whatever happens, you've already won. You're free. You know the truth. I nodded, clinging to that thought as we were called back in for the judge's decision. The courtroom fell silent as she shuffled her papers. The judge began, based on the evidence presented. I find sufficient cause to grant a permanent restraining order. Ms. Chen Sr. is to have no contact with Ms. Chen Jr. and must remain at least 500 yards away from her person, residence, and place of employment or education. Relief washed over me. The first official acknowledgement that I needed protection from the woman who should have protected me. The judge continued, I am also referring this case to the district attorney's office for review of potential criminal charges, including assault, poisoning, and child abuse. My mom let out a wail that made my skin crawl. Her lawyer put a restraining hand on her arm, but she shook him off, rising from her seat. Her carefully constructed facade crumbled, revealing the desperation beneath. She screamed, looking at me rather than the judge, "You can't do this to me. After everything I've done for you, you'd be nothing without me. You'll come crawling back when you get sick again, and you'll get sick. You need me. You need me." Court officers moved toward her as her voice rose to a shriek. As they escorted her out, still screaming, I sat frozen, her words echoing in my head. For a moment, a sliver of doubt crept in. What if she was right? What if I did get sick again? What if I couldn't survive without her? The old programming tried to reassert itself. Then Jamie's hand found mine, warm and solid. He whispered, "You don't need her. You never did." Outside the courthouse, I took a deep breath of fresh air. The sun was warm on my face, and a slight breeze carried the scent of nearby flowering trees. The restraining order was a victory, but I knew this wasn't truly over. She would find ways to reach me to try to pull me back into her orbit. The criminal investigation would mean more statements, more evidence, more confrontations. But for now, I had won this battle. I had spoken my truth and been believed. I had taken one more step away from her shadow and into the light of my own life. The future stretched before me, uncertain but mine to shape. I pulled out my phone and blocked every unknown number that had contacted me in the past weeks. Then I deleted her contact information entirely. The action was small but significant, cutting one more tie that bound us. Jamie asked, "What now?" I looked up at the clear blue sky, feeling the weight of the future. My future stretching out before me. Possibilities I'd never considered suddenly seemed within reach. College, travel, friendships, and normal life. I said, now I figure out who I am without her.